Welcome, guys. Good to have you on.
Hey, Ben.
Thanks for having us, Ben. Appreciate being here on your show.
Yeah, I can't recall the last time I had two people on. I don't think I've actually had like two business owners on. Obviously, not only business owners, but you guys are in a relationship as well. So this is the first. So I'm excited.
Yeah. What you don't see behind the scenes in running a business.
Bring on the couple thing.
Yeah, well, maybe the first of many. So you guys have I obviously read through both, the backstory of you both individually and then what you've done collectively. You guys have got I feel like a really cool story. I wanted to just learn like how you guys actually first met.
How we first met.
I'll let you tell this one.
Pretty much a very long time ago. Pretty much we were teenagers that went to a movie marathon, and my girlfriend brought me along and his friend brought him along, and then it sort of met from there onwards. Still good friends with those friends, but yeah, I don't know. That's how
she had a vision in me, and now look where it's taken us.
Yeah.
Who seduced you?
Let's just say Michael's not the ordinary boyfriend to have. For instance, I'm up the coast, very far away, yet he'll still make his way before he had a license. Or actually, I don't even know if he already had a license.
No, I think I was just about getting my license, but I had that desire to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
He had the entrepreneurial drive.
He did.
Let's run with that.
He did indeed.
So, Nicole, you were a nurse in ICU. Where did it start for you? Like, what exactly did you study?
I studied science first, so medical science, and then Michael got a property in that time that I was at uni, and it was sort of like, okay, let's get a job. And I looked into science, and I was like, oh, this is not for me. I loved it, but I'm very people. I love talking to people. I love the people aspect. And so science is very data driven, which I love, don't get me wrong. But I sort of missed that science aspect, the people aspect when in the science. And so I thought, okay, let's do something that's collaborative in a way of got people. So ICU nursing was my sort of way to go. So I started in acute care first in coronary care unit, where it's heart attacks, and then I made my way into ICU. And then I guess once I was a nurse and established, I just jumped on to, it was actually my first year of nursing, I think, that I jumped on into investing with Michael. And that was like a little seed that flourished in our investment journey.
That's pretty cool. From ICU to investing. And so you got your first taste, I guess, like you could say through Michael. Was it Michael's acquisition?
Yeah, it was, well, he had two properties by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had two properties by then. And I went on to the third. So, and it was the third one that we did like a reno and sort of learnt renovation.
All the do's and don'ts.
All the do's and don'ts. And then we ended up putting granny flat onto that property as well to add value and whatnot, and learnt a lot of things in that property. But it's done us okay.
And then still got it's
a stepping stone. And then you get the bug, right? And then you're like, oh, that's the next project. And then it sort of went next. And now we're here being like, wow, we're actually advanced investors looking at multiple things. And what brought us into, I guess, the BA space is wanting to help, or we started helping others. And then we were like, let's do this. Let's do this actually as a job. Yeah.
Sounds pretty cool. Michael, how would you describe your background growing up?
So I was raised by predominantly my mum raised me as a single parent. My parents split at a young age. I think it was about 3 or 4. And basically having a sole provider, I was the only child as well. It was quite difficult for my mum to sustain regular employment. So we were living in housing commission throughout most of my young years. And at an early age, I realized that whilst my mum was doing all she could to provide for myself, there was a point where I realized I had to start taking my own, drive and fending for myself and not having to rely on my mum, who was doing everything she could. So that then led me to finding a job. I think my first job was at Big W when I was about 14 years of age. And so from an early period in my life, I then started looking for alternate ways to how best I can leverage my money. And one thing led to another, started reading plenty of articles, talking to people. And because I was quite young in comparison to a lot of my friends throughout the high school years, I went to school quite early. I basically got the idea to invest in property through one of my friends. And that basically led me to purchasing and saving up a deposit to purchase at the age of 21. After that first acquisition, I'm speaking with the broker who managed to get the deal across the line for us in the first place. And 9 months on, he basically approached me and said that, hey, let's revalue your property if you want to go again. At the time, I wasn't really too sure what to expect, but then essentially what I was, I guess I was surprised when the valuation came back and then the property itself had increased a substantial value. To my surprise, all from $30,000 as a deposit, there I was ready to go again to purchase another property. So that was a real mind-blowing situation for me to go, well, hey, here I am making a few measly dollars an hour, and yet you invest your money in property and do it correctly, and you can reap some serious benefits from it.
That's unreal. So there's a few things I want to touch on there. So your friend you mentioned who, I guess you could say, introduced you to, whether it was just investing or, inspiring you to get that first one. Are you still in contact with that person?
I am, yes.
Okay. Have you thanked him or her?
Funnily enough, I probably have along the lines, but indirectly, because we were pretty good friends for most of our years up until we had our kids and kind of went along our separate paths. So, I mean, we still talk to each other, but whether or not I thanked him for that period of time, probably I should.
Yeah, because here you are now, running a buyer's agent business that's progressively growing. And it's always nice I think, to connect the dots. But the second thing I wanted to talk about as well is, thanking that mortgage broker, who typically a mortgage broker, from my experience, doesn't really tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, let's reval, let's manufacture this equity, let's go again.
Yeah.
Usually the buyer's agent's doing that to a first-time investor. So that's impressive.
Yeah, I guess it was now
thinking of it. But I think it's because it was a long time ago too now. It was back in the days where face-to-face contact, and then because he was so young, I think you inspired those professionals that you engaged, I guess, like the broker and whatnot.
Yeah. So I guess on top of that, him being aware that I was quite new to this space, perhaps maybe led the process in saying that his intel was that properties, well, at least the area had gone up in value, and that was enough of an instigator to get things rolling again.
I love it. So, Michael, you then got Nicole hooked on investing, and then together you had two property addicts going at it. Obviously, while you were running your Michael. So, and what were you doing in terms for your career, in terms of your role?
By the age of 17, once I'd finished school, I think it was about 2006. Now thinking back, I then took on a apprenticeship as an electrician and started working for a small little company, and was really earning really low income for an apprentice. I think it was about anywhere between $10 or $12 an hour at the time. And so was working weekends just to kind of save up enough for a deposit. So I did that for about 3 years, and then decided to take a bit of a break. Went for a 6 or 8 week holiday to Europe with a whole bunch of friends, clear the mind, as you do. And when I came back, my mum again had found a foot in the door in applying to an electrical role in Sydney Trains, and so jumped into that opportunity. Didn't think much of it. Then got an opportunity to be an electrician for them. Did that for a number of years, and yeah, here we are now.
And so you guys are both now all in with your buyer's agent business, is that right?
So
Transitioning, I
we're still transitioning. I'm still doing this sort of part time, you could say. Whereas Nicole, being on maternity leave, she's got a lot more time available to do the everyday to day business side of things, and I'm just sort of helping in the background where I can.
Yeah, we bit the bullet and decided let's do it when I'm on mat leave and see where it goes.
Well, there was a study I read recently. I think it was actually, the World Economic Forum. Like there was just this study that they did around, I think it was 5,000 entrepreneurs in North America they interviewed, and basically who'd started side businesses. So they were working full time, I think, as employees, and so the 5,000 people had started a business. Sorry, there was 5,000 people, and the ones that were working full time while they started the business were 34% less likely to fail. So
Interesting
it was
statistic.
obviously a small data set, but I think it's wise to try out new ventures on the side. I think it's I think a lot of smart people that I've studied. I always talk about like Phil Knight from Nike. He did it. Steve Wozniak from Apple. He was at Hewlett Packard. The list goes on. There's heaps of them. I think it's strategic and smart. I went all in when I started Cohen Handler because I'd left the corporate world, but I kind of wish that it was a smoother transition because it's sometimes a bit, hardcore.
I could only imagine.
Yeah. Well, we're still investors as well. So we got to think of our investing. We keep wanting to invest and we keep investing anyway. Like we've just done a few purchases ourselves recently as well. So it's like just to keep investing, we got to have that serviceability, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, given that the business financials are quite fresh still, we want to build that up and get it to a level where things are a little bit more sustainable. And I'm quite risk averse. So for me, that's also important. And now having 3 little minions under 5 running around, it's not the same sort of expectations I had prior to kids. So all of that is quite important, and we want to make it as smooth of a transition as is.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's responsible. So how's the journey been? I mean, you guys obviously love property. You're solid investors. You bought a lot of property for yourselves. Like, how has the experience been for you guys, like jumping in the buyer's agent seat to then obviously help other people, achieve some form of pathway that you guys have been on?
Yeah, it's exciting. Okay, it's exciting. I don't know.
Well, I mean, when we first started out, we had a couple of challenges, of course, in terms of licensing and whatnot. But once we got that up and running, I think the hardest part for me was just getting myself out there. And I was always second guessing whether or not I was being boastful or not, because I really had the intent of reaching out to people to see if there's any way I can help. And what I found was that the investing aspect in our journey was a big contributor to the confidence in what we were able to do. And so every time I speak to someone new and who's struggling in this space, I guess the confidence that we've built up from all the trial methods and ways that we've attempted ourselves and determined what worked, what didn't, is now a really big confidence boost when we know we've been able to help someone with their purchase and basically get them to a level where they're replicating results similar to ours, if not better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to add to that, just Ben saying also like just there's like gaps sometimes with the education and that when you can feel it, I think it's fulfillment as well for them and you, because you've given them a light bulb moment, and it's just expanding their horizon, as you'd call it, right? Taking those goggles off for them.
I think so. Obviously, speaking to Michael's journey, I mean, you obviously got into investing at a young age. You obviously got exposed to it in terms of just some form of influence in your life. And I think property's all around us in the press, and it's just everywhere from a media point of view. But, very few Australians own property, like in terms of multiple properties like you guys. And there's obviously a blockage, like whether it's people just buy the first lemon and they just don't have equity to go again, or whatever. There's definitely a block, especially when it gets to 6+ properties. I think it's less than 2% at the moment, ABS's latest data, which is really low, I think, in Australia. But I think it must be cool for both of you now that you're obviously together, you're driving a portfolio. Like, it must be cool for you guys to just really activate that inspiration for people to start really using property as a vehicle to build wealth, right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So I guess the biggest eye opener for us is it provides us with options. And so I recall there were periods in my life where I used to get up at 6 o'clock before the crack of dawn and get on the tools as an electrician. And I thought to myself, working Monday to Saturday, and I thought, God, I don't think I've got the capacity to do this all the way up until retirement. I thought, I've got to try and find better ways to leverage the money I earn and slaving away all these days. And so when property got to a level where it was providing us a passive income, that was like a big turning moment for us. And that was only, I guess, superseded by the fact of then having kids. That just really cemented that for us to say, well, now that we want to be a part of our children's lives as well, we're going to continue investing so that these options can flourish and not be forced to work, but rather be in a position where we want to work and have that level of fulfillment.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, you guys have, I guess, been on this journey together, and I think you've obviously, like, I'm assuming you were mentioning, Nicole, like around one of your properties, like there's challenges as you go through in terms of purchasing for yourself. Like, we all make mistakes, and I guess you learn through those hard lessons, and you have to invest money and burn money, or whatever it is you burn, your time or opportunity costs or whatever it is. You have to really walk through that yourself. I feel like go through the trenches, walk through some flames, and then you can really, guide people from a place of experience, right?
Pretty much. But what also I like about the fact it's two of us in it, we can bounce ideas off each other. And then I think that's where I've sort of want to empower the females, I guess, in the investor space as well, because a lot just can leave it up to someone else to do it. And you're like, well, what happens if there isn't somebody else? You can do it also. And I think there's a new rise as well, female investors coming in as well, who I guess maybe don't have the confidence as males do. I don't know if it's just risk adverse or what it is yet to any decipher what's going on in the female world, but it's also just saying you can do it also. And you don't have to do it as a couple. You can do it separately as well. You could be a single woman or you could be a single male. Yeah. And then I guess also it's for any person who's working not to have that mindset that, oh, that's just not for me. I can't do it. I have to go to work and, oh, I'm scared to have that loan. It's sort of like, okay, but why are you scared to have that loan? Like, what's happening? There's more deeper issues usually that you can unsolve. And then when you open somebody's eyes to being like, well, you don't have to work that hard. You can actually use your money and your savings to something that will be bringing you a passive income or will be bringing you some longevity in the future. So you can build upon that instead of working 9 to 5, or me, I was shift work, for instance, and I just didn't see shift work sustainable. It does many bad things to your body, I reckon. So, I guess it's thinking outside the box. I think that's the one good thing about us. We do like to think outside the box. And a lot of our clients love the fact that when they have us, they can speak to us. If it's me, I'm good at some things, and then Michael's better at some things. And then we've also got a network of professionals that, if you have us, you have a network of professionals as well. So it's about creating that team for, I guess, the client and who do they need in their team to get them their purchases so they can build upon their journey in investing.
So true.
Absolutely.
Yep. I think a lot of people do make the mistake of finding someone who's sitting in their team on a seat who drops the ball and then causes problems. It could be whether it's an accountant or financial planner that's doing something, in the super, or it could be just a really lousy conveyancer who goes away for 2 days when they're trying to do a deal. So yeah, I think a lot of investors miscalculate the importance of the power team. What have you guys learned? So in terms of the time that you've been doing this, what have you learned in terms of the people you've worked with, or the people that you've spoken with, who potentially want to use your service? What are they struggling with? Why do you feel like a lot of them? I know it's a general question. Everyone's got a different point of view, but if you could kind of generalize around what you've heard, how would you sum it up?
I'll jump in here then. And so, to give you a bit of context, when we initially started our journey, Ben, we engaged someone who we thought was professional, and long and behold, after the transaction took place, been settled, we realized that wasn't probably the smartest of decisions we'd made. So what I've come to realize in the sort of space the last sort of 12 months is there's a bit of fear instilled with buyers agents, and more so around transacting as a transaction, as opposed to sort of building long-term relationships with clients. That's something I've picked up from speaking to a few prospects. Another thing is, of course, the media and how they always project doom and gloom. The market's going to fall, the crashes is it imminent, property price is going to drop 20% or what it may be. They're always portraying a negative aspect about property. And whilst that may be true in Sydney and Melbourne, we're realizing in certain markets that's actually the inverse of what we're seeing and experiencing with some of the purchases that we're doing on behalf of the clients.
Yeah, I was just about to jump in to say, and it's also just opening in the sense of sometimes they just can't fill in the gaps themselves of where they want to go. They say that's their goal, but they just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to execute it. And I guess that's where you need a team of experts to help you understand that and then pop it into place. So
yeah, the execution's always a tricky part. You can know where to buy or think where you buy or what you want to buy, but then you've actually got to buy it and put it together. And so I hear that. And I think to your point, Michael, around, especially it's relevant today in 2023 with the media, the media they speak their narrative when it feels right, and they share their narrative of what they're trying to achieve, like whether they're trying to curb inflation, they'll just say the market's terrible and trying to reduce spend or whatever they're doing. And you're right, it's a contradiction to what's actually going on, especially in investment in some regional areas and some other areas as well for investment, it's booming.
Absolutely.
I was speaking to someone in WA this morning who was just telling me the market is so busy. He said it's just insane. It's insane. And hot. So we don't hear about that, do we?
No, it's like popcorn there right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. I think it's a cool place to be for you guys, whereby you literally or clearly love what you do in terms of investing. You understand how the money can work for you, as opposed to having to slog around. Because I think traditionally a lot of people, they don't quite grasp the concept of leverage. A lot of people, I feel just feel like they've got to wake up and just rent out their time or do what they need to do to earn money. And they don't realize there's a different way to live and do it, right?
Yeah. But then I guess when you tell those people there is, they'll just go, oh, yeah, it sounds too good to be true. And you're like,
Yeah.
it's about changing that mindset.
Bridging that gap.
Yeah, bridging the gap.
I'm guilty of that when I was younger as well. Absolutely. Took me a little while to shift the mindset to the power of leverage.
Yeah, I think we all are, and it takes time, and it doesn't land for some people, I think, ever. And sometimes it just lands for people at different stages. But yeah, I think you guys, in terms of your strategy, you're buying investment properties only. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
And is part of the strategy around doing any form of renovation?
Yeah, so depending on obviously the client's goals and expectations, we have the option to have cash flow strategies, value add strategies such as renovation or subdivisions, like a retain and build. I guess it really comes down to the client and what they want to achieve in what sort of time frame, and of course their risk tolerance as well.
Yeah, it just depends also how they're purchasing it as well, and through what,
Whether it's individual
estimates and
different outcomes.
yeah, and it depends what they want to do as a goal and how quickly do they want to scale as well. You know, is it development that they want to go down the path or granny flats or
So
many strategies.
So when we sit down with a client in our meetings, we'll essentially break it all down and then tailor a strategy to their needs, hence tailored property group, and present them the opportunities that we think are going to complement their end goals.
I love it. Yeah, excuse the pun, tailored. I think it's great, though, that you guys do tailor different strategies, because some people are very focused on one strategy. I think it's great that you guys encompass diversity, as you said, Michael. Like, well, what's the client's goals and expectations? Well, you guys can then deploy, the strategy that meets that, which I think is great.
Yeah. I guess we've had one client just recently very, surprised that we could do something for him that he thought was just unachievable. And then get two deals as well happening at the same time for him. Two different, genres. And that's also eye-opening, right, for people.
Yeah.
That can happen.
That's even a possibility.
And then we like to think outside the box as well. If somebody says no, there may be a way, because we live in a lot of grey.
I like it. Well, that's what you're there for, right? You're there to challenge thinking and bend the thinking and provide solutions and diagnose. And I love that. And I think we're going to finish up, but I think, Nicole, on your note just earlier, I'm kind of rewinding back. When you're talking about women and investing, I think there's a big opportunity there. I think I haven't got data on this. I'm kind of, again, it's my perspective, but it seems like it's very, very male dominant. Or from what you see around success paths around investors, it's very male focused. And then I'm sure there's a lot of women kicking a lot of ass. But I think also a lot of women need to be inspired more to take on the journey at a younger age and be more independent with wealth creation through property. So I think there's a big opportunity. I think there's a huge opportunity there. So,
yep, I think it comes off.
I'm sure I'll see you there.
Something that you once were saying about bringing it back to the schools. We need to teach it at school level, like how to what is wealth and what creating, like the whole process. Going back to
bit of an outdated system.
Yeah, outdated system, right? I hate you touched base on that once yourself on a podcast or something you were saying, where I think it does go back to that.
Yeah, super outdated. I don't know how they've forgotten to teach buying property. If you're going to leave school and start watching the news, if you do, or read the papers, and you're going to sit in your face all day about property, they might as well give you at least a subject on it at school. But it's very interesting. Well, guys, we're going to finish on that note. I think your story is awesome individually and collectively. I think you guys bring heaps to the table. And also, Nicole, I hope I'm sure you will carry out and execute on empowering women in the investment space. I really see there's a big market opportunity there for a buyer's agent like you and Michael to kind of spearhead that. Where can people find you who want to learn more?
So you can go to our website, www.tailoredpropertygroup.com.au. But we're also on socials, so you can go, it's at tailoredpropertygroup.com.au for our socials. So or find us.
Find us on LinkedIn as well, if that's your go-to.
Yeah. LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok.
Most of the platforms.
Yeah. YouTube now.
Nice. Well, guys, great having you on. I've been seeing you guys on LinkedIn, so that's awesome. Great to chat, guys, and hopefully we'll do another one of these sessions soon.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having us on the show. Bye-bye.
Bye.